How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant. Hope everybody's having a good summer still, and we're nearing the fall season, and definitely feels like August is slowing down a little bit. Movies wise, there's not a lot of crazy anticipated movies this month. I feel like so. This is just kind of like roll the dice for sure on what movies are going to be good. One of which we are talking about today is The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is one of the I guess. I don't know how I put this. It's basically about one of the most popular characters in all of fiction, Dracula, but it's also a little bit a small point in his story. So
it's like a small chapter in the story, right? Like I think you were telling me that the other day.
Yeah, from what I haven't read the book, just mostly seen a bunch of movies on Dracula, especially Bram Stoker's directed in 1992 with Gary Oldman, which is probably one of the best Dracula movies you'll ever see. Yeah, it's definitely a small smidge just about Dracula leaving, Europe and going to England, essentially. And, yeah, that's essentially it, and from the trailers you can kind of get the gist of what's going to happen with him. So, this is a non-spoiler review as always, so do not forget to give us a like, please ring the bell, and of course subscribe. We appreciate you all and want to keep the conversation going about some of these summer films. So, yeah, it's actually got a decently solid cast behind it as well. One of my favorite actors in it was the guy who played the captain. He was also in Game of Thrones and stuff. It was Liam Cunningham.
Liam Cunningham.
Yeah, he's always a joy to watch in his movies. Corey Hawkins, who my first movie I want to say with him was Straight Outta Compton. I think I don't know if he was anything before. Maybe he was. I don't remember, to be honest, but. That was my first experience with him. We also have David Dastmalchian.
Malchian?
Yeah. It's Malchian or Malchian?
Either or. I don't
okay.
care.
Yeah, that's fine. And
I've always heard Dastmalchian, but I'm sure we probably got it wrong. And I don't know.
Who knows? It's hard to tell with some of these things. And then one of the other surprise actors I kind of didn't pick out until midway in the movie was Stefan Kapchich. I can't say his name, but he was the voice of Colossus in the Deadpool movies, and he was Nikolai in Call of Duty, the newest reboot of Modern Warfare, which I didn't put two and two together. But now that I'm thinking about his voice, I was like, I get it. So it's just one of those fun things. But yeah, it's it's pretty. I don't know how faithful it is to the book. I know, it is supposed to be based on part of that book, Bram Stoker's original story. It definitely is trying to be almost like it's definitely a creature feature, just because, Dracula is not the swarthy, monster that he's depicted in the original 1930s movie or Bram Stoker's. He's definitely a straight up just monster in this one, which wasn't bad. Definitely interesting. Overall, I thought the movie was okay. It wasn't horrible in any way. There was actually some pretty gnarly shit that happened in this, but yeah, it was it wasn't bad. Not really scary, a little creepy in some points, just because depending on the character and the situation. But other than that, I thought it was okay. What did you think of this movie, Bern?
Yeah, I kind of fall under those same lines. It feels like the movie is kind of having sort of like a crisis of identity, like it doesn't know kind of what it wants to be. Does it want to be more of the slow burn period piece, like a monster movie type thing, or does it want to be, like you said, a creature feature? It felt like it didn't really know which direction to go in, and that sort of I felt that push and pull within itself, where it's like, okay, like what is it trying to be here? Because the movie, it does sort of take its time, and there are points where I'm like, okay, I can appreciate what you're doing, but I don't know if you're executing it as well as you think you are, in terms of certain things, in terms of the execution of that slow burn type story. I mean, like you mentioned, the performances were pretty good around the board. I don't have any bad things to say about any of the actors, but I don't think any of them blew me away. They played their parts really well. And the design of the creature, Dracula itself, was pretty cool. And I thought that the use of the budget here, I don't know how much of a budget it did have, but it felt like it was used really well. Like, there wasn't any point where I was like, oh, that looks kind of cheap or that looks bad or anything. Like, it looked pretty good in terms of the whole period piece aspect of it. I thought it was really well done. And terms of like the filmmaking aspect of it, because you know, you hear it a lot in terms of like making movies with where there's a lot of water involved, like it's difficult to deal with. And this movie taking place primarily on a boat, I'm sure that must have been a logistics issue to say the least, but I thought they handled it really, really well. But yeah, like you said, it wasn't much of a scary movie. I mean, I'm an easy scare, as you know, when we go watch movies together. And this movie was more of just like we said, like the slow burn type thing. It wasn't about the jump scares at all, which on the one hand I appreciate, but also I'm like, I wish it could have been a little bit more scary in certain aspects of it. But yeah, so that it's kind of it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. And I don't think the director here, Andre Overdahl, I don't think he did a bad job at all. I just think they should have picked a lane, you know, and then just and kind of went with it instead of trying to juggle too many things at once in terms of how they wanted to tell this story.
That's very fair. You know, I didn't. It does when you talked about the whole pushing and pulling of genres. I definitely, now looking at it, I can definitely see that argument for sure. And I don't know if this is his first movie at all. I really can't tell. But
No,
oh,
no,
okay.
he did Troll Hunter and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh, okay.
And
that one actually wasn't that bad either.
I forgot.
So
Yeah, so he's had some solid work before, and again, I don't think he did a bad job here in this one. Just a little bit like all over the place.
well, that and it's Dracula. Like it's been told so many different times. And very few successful ones. You know, depending on your choice of movies and stuff. So because you know there's been shitload of Dracula stuff, but I really did like, and you know, it's funny because there were actually a lot of practical effects to it. I just couldn't tell, so I think that's props to production on that, especially Javier Botet. He was the one who played Dracula in some of the practical scenes. It was definitely a different version. I actually kind of respected it. Not my favorite, not probably the route I would have gone, but you know what? I did like what they did with it, and because of all that, you know, I didn't mind it. Would I rush to see it again? Absolutely not. But I would definitely say it was about a 2 out of 5, but not a bad 2. Like, definitely a 2 of like, you know what? It's good. If you like it, awesome. If you don't, I get why.
Yeah, like if you're coming in looking for like scares and crazy kills and stuff, like you'll kind of get that, but again, there's a lot of time in between. I would say that this movie is sort of like Alien, but on a boat with Dracula. You know, the movie Alien, the Ridley Scott movie. How that movie paces the horror out. It's sort of similarly done here, but as I mentioned, I don't feel like it executes it that well. But yeah, I'm also there with you, man. It's a 2 out of 5 for me as well. I didn't hate it. You know, I didn't dislike any portion of it. I just felt like it didn't deliver on the aspects that I think it hoped it did. Would I want to see more of this type of thing? Maybe, you know, like I could see this kind of like going forward and being a cool thing. Like let's see what this Dracula does or something like that. Because as we mentioned, you know, this is just a chapter in the Dracula story. So if they're gonna go more for it, maybe they would be cool to see. But I would feel like if they were gonna do that, then they gotta sort of, you know, pick a direction and stick to it with that type of thing. But I don't think anyone will leave this movie super disappointed. I think they'll just probably leave it wanting a little bit more.
And that's totally fair. I definitely agree with you on that. Because, yeah, it's one of those movies I'm like, I would definitely want to see more. And because it's such a minuscule part in the overall Dracula story. So it's like, it definitely could have been done a little bit better, I think. Maybe they could have done more, you know, creepy stuff. I know they try to, like, with like some horror movies like this, they try and always like kind of start out slow with showing the creature, and then near the end you finally see him in all his glory. I think one of the best like kind of rip-offs of that whole trapped in with the monster like Alien did was, and The Thing was Life from 2017. I think that's one of the few successful really good movies that came out. But other than that, you know, everyone, if you had a chance to see this movie, let us know what you thought about it in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Actually, Byrne, before we finish off, would you say this was better than The Meg 2, or would you rather have watched The Meg 2 again?
I think this was better than The Meg 2.
Damn, that's surprising. I mean, they're both fun movies to have. I know we didn't do a review on it, everybody. That's my bad. I apologize on that. But I don't know. I kind of like The Meg 2 just because it's you know, it was just fun. You know, you just turn your brain on. It's like the Transformer movies of shark movies, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean they're different movies, but I think this one was a little bit more consistent. Whereas the Meg 2 was half of one movie I did not care for, and half of it where it's like, okay, this is kind of decent. Oh, at least in this one, it's like this was all just kind of decent.
Totally fair. But everyone, until next time, we got some other movies coming out the rest of August. Gran Turismo is coming out, which we'll let you guys know how that was. And
Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle as well. Hopefully that is good. But like I said,
Hopefully, yeah.
until then, as always, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.